The PlayStation VR is out, we got the launch games, but what games do we want in the future? Second, I discussed in the new gaming discussions. This is part of the Everything Gaming podcast. Go check it out, I'll put a link down in the description below. What games do you want to see on the PlayStation VR? Let us know in the comments down below, and don't forget to hit the like button. Yeah, there are a ton of launch games. We have the Until Dawn game, of course. We have Rigs from Gorilla Cambridge. But there are also I mentioned Until Dawn, but it's not an Until Dawn game. It's just a on-rail shooter. And we, of course, have Ace Combat. That's a pretty familiar franchise. But there are, we kind of miss the Uncharted, the infamous, or the big Sony IP for the PlayStation VR. And also maybe we miss some other games. So what I would like to discuss with you, because you, of course, are also pretty enthusiastic and into the VR industry and stuff like that. What games would you like to play? And then let's look for now only at the PlayStation VR, because that's coming out and that's hot right now. So I'm curious, what games would you like to play on the PlayStation VR?
Yeah, so on the PlayStation VR, they just need sort of more full-featured games, not just sort of 2-hour experiences, but at least 5 to 6 hour sort of full campaign story type experiences to show off sort of the potential of this hardware. And they don't really have that right now. What they really have is stuff coming out in the future, like Resident Evil 7 is going to be fully VR capable, but how long is that game going to be? We're not really quite sure. It should be fully featured like a Resident Evil game normally is, but then they're doing something completely different with it, so we're not really 100% sure about that. Then they also have games like Gone Home, which you list here, that could be easily converted over into a VR experience. They also have Elite Dangerous is, I believe, I'm not sure if it's rumored or confirmed to be coming over to Sony's PS4 platform, but that should have been VR ready day one, because it's already VR ready for the Oculus and other devices as well. I think it's also able to be utilized with the HTC Vive. So they could have brought that over and had a space simulator with VR already on their platform, but they completely missed that opportunity to get that out at launch. And then as far as Uncharted, they could do so many different things with Uncharted. Not like Uncharted 4 turned into VR, it wouldn't work at all, because the game's is built for third-person mechanics, and it just would look really weird and be very janky. But at least a short, 3-hour-ish experience, story-based with some of the main characters, or since Uncharted 4 sort of wrapped a lot of things up, maybe start new storylines. Or with Infamous, Infamous First Light, that was a shorter experience. Why not do another Infamous, like Second Light? Obviously, they do a different name, but stuff along those lines. They need to build off their already established franchises, get people hyped up. But the problem with Sony is they've always just sort of, at least ever since they started selling consoles, PS3, they were very, fast at getting, not necessarily fast getting things out, but they're faster. Now it's very much embracing this greatness of Wait's marketing slogan a little bit too much. Stuff's just taken forever to come out, and so it's really hard to say. I think that they have stuff that they're working on that they just haven't really announced yet, but I mean, their launch lineup's not terrible. There's a lot of stuff there. It's just they're all small experiences, and I've already seen people mad about it, saying, "Oh, it's a bunch of demos. Oh, it's a bunch of demos. Yay, demos."
Yeah, absolutely. To get back to your Uncharted point, I mean, a short experience. It seems like what I hear from VR. Of course, I tried it a little bit, but not for an extensive period of time. But short experience is where this thing is probably gonna live. You're gonna put this headset on, and you don't want to play a 10-hour RPG in one sitting or something like that. So I think a short experience is the way to go for this system. So just an Uncharted story set piece. I mean, the characters, the acting is so good in Uncharted 4. I would love to see that, and then maybe through the eyes of Nathan Drake, where you're on the couch with Elena, or you're discussing something with Sully, or something like that. That will be super awesome with the characters, And of course, a lot of people also are saying, yeah, but we have the indie games also coming out. Why do you want only AAA titles? But that's also because that shows that Sony is like invested in the system and that they are willing to bring their major franchises over to the system to to show the support and stuff like that. Because why would I buy a PlayStation VR for $400? Why would I invest in it if Sony isn't really doing that right now with their major AAA studios and something like that? I also think a Quantic Dream game, of course we know them from Heavy Rain, Beyond, and they're now working on Detroit. It would be cool to, for example, in Detroit, their new game, you're also like investigating this house and something like that. And you're also like picking stuff up and something like that. That could be easily done. Okay, maybe not easily from a development standpoint, but from a gameplay perspective, it could be done with the Move controllers where you just put on the headset for a while, maybe just look around, grab this like tablet, and then you examine it. And then of course you can also do the like choices in VR where you just really look through the eyes of the character, of the main character, and you have to like, okay, will I shoot this time, or will I like try to convince him that he has to drop his gun, something like that. I mean, a Quantic Dream game is like a movie, is like a cinematic experience, and I think that without a lot of gameplay, I mean, you're not like running or fighting in real time. It's just with quick time events mostly, and probably that will also be the case in Detroit. I think they can like probably happen in VR. Maybe they're already working on that. I can really see that Quantic Dream is like a studio that is like looking at this technology and thinking, wait, our games can perfectly work with this. So hopefully they're working with that, but right now we don't see that yet.
Yeah, and the biggest problem too is the platform that PSVR is on. It's utilizing the PlayStation 4. So if they want to take Quantum Dream, they would have to completely dumb that game down visually in order to make it run at a proper frame rate for VR. Unless they utilize types of sort of workarounds, like Oculus now has a workaround where on lower end hardware, it basically sort of utilizes some sort of, and I'm going to completely technically butcher this, but I think of it as sort of like a frame interpolation system where it sort of like doubles the frame rate artificially. So you basically end up with a higher frame rate in game, even though the game's not really actually running at that. So they could be trying to utilize something like that on the PlayStation 4, which is why we're seeing very solid frame rates from the initial titles I've seen at least. And we've also seen some random things like a lower screen door effect. A lot of people are reporting that the screen door effect is kind of gone. Jim Inquisition talked about it. Also, IGN, one of IGN's guys, was talking about it, and I believe GameSpot as well was talking about it. So that's a really interesting thing. But it comes down to the fact that they need some sort of complete story experience. Like I said, about like 5-6 hours, and that's sort of like the higher end that you would want sort of from a VR game. But even if you just have like a 2 or 3 hour storyline within a known IP that Sony already has established, that would be great. That would be phenomenal. And we've already seen sort of fully featured sort of like RPGs on the Steam Vive VR headset, like for example Vanishing Realms. Vanishing Realms is a $20 experience, and it's only 2 hours long, 2.5 hours long if you sort of leisure through it. And a lot of people love that game. It has overwhelmingly positive reviews on Steam because it basically made you feel as if you're just in an RPG, you know, going through sort of like a Dark Souls experience, killing monsters, taking loot, stuff like that. And that's stuff that doesn't really feel like a demo because it kind of feels like its own thing by the time you get through it, because you do want to take breaks in VR. You can't just sit down for hours on end. And I do think that maybe it's Achilles' heel in the end, but I think that for short term, if they want to make it work, they need to see that. They need to utilize different types of shorter stories that they can sort of use within VR and sort of make the Twilight Zone of gaming within VR. And that sounds very weird, but I've started watching Black Mirror lately, a show that takes, you know, separate short stories, makes them all each episode sort of a spiritual successor to the Twilight Zone, which did the same thing. And each of them feel complete because they're so well written and done. And in gaming, you could do the same thing with VR, but you have to make sure you have it at a high quality. and at the proper amount of hours played. So like 2 to 2.5 hours, 3 hours. If you want to do a really, really in-depth game, go 6 hours. It's all the way up to 8 hours. We're not going to see 40-hour experiences in VR, I don't think, because the hardware is just not there yet to make you feel comfortable with that amount of time in VR. But for now, 8 hours I think is max, and they need to get full experiences out to make this sell off the shelves and give people a reason to take that risk, because I don't see a lot of demoing hardware that's going to be out on shelves. I just don't. I think it would be a nightmare. So, yeah.
And that's also like with the demoing. I mean, then you play like, for example, VR Worlds, then you do the London Heist, and then you think, okay, this is cool, but I know that this is a mini game, and I will play this for an hour and then put it away, and there's like not really a lot else for me to play in that sort of experience window. I mean, London Heist is a little bit that short story where you are like a bad guy for trying to rob a bank, as far as I know, or you're killing a bunch of guys. It's supposed to be pretty good. I really want to experience that, but after that, what will I do then? So to a little bit, do you know Gone Home?
Yeah, I actually beat Gone Home.
Yeah, so that would be a cool VR game as well, where you're also like picking up stuff, you're walking around like one house, and it's a 2-hour game, has a very unique experience. You don't really know what's going on in that house, and that can also be a perfect VR game. And also games that have just short like matches. For example, a For Honor like fighting style game. I mean, fighting can be perfectly done, I think, with the Move controllers, where you also like slide left, and if someone like blocks left, he parries it and stuff like that. But if you have just where you can just jump on, put on the headset, do a short match of 10 minutes, for example, or 5 minutes, do another one if you're feeling it, and otherwise you're just putting down the headset. So like little matches where you still have this like awesome tension, awesome action, can also like really work. And I'm now saying For Honor, and I of course don't mean like the real For Honor third-person game, but maybe make a mini game in the For Honor universe where where it's a first-person game.
Duels. Yeah, one-on-one duels in first person. That'd be pretty cool.
Maybe if that game takes off, Ubisoft will look into it if they wanna make this like franchise broader, something like that. That could be really cool. So like experience like that, and right now I'm missing that. I don't really see Sony really investing in that type of experience. Of course, hopefully there will be some indie pearls. For example, Gone Home is also made by 3 guys or 2 guys, not a lot of people. And they will probably also come to VR. And I mean, people are still figuring this out, so it's pretty new. I mean, now it's like for the first time, it's pretty mainstream. You can walk into a store and buy a headset. That didn't happen before. So there will be more out there. There will probably be more developers toying around with this and releasing games, and hopefully they will figure out a nice way to give you a short but awesome and also immersive experience in VR.
It's funny that we mentioned Gone Home as well, because I just looked it up, and a lot of people are talking about how it's an amazing experience in VR, because they either I'm not sure if Oculus maybe has support for it. I saw some people mentioning Oculus, so either it has support for it or people jimmy rigged it. But I also saw an Android VR. So with the Gear VR headset, they found a way to there's a certain software out there that allows you to play any game you want on PC with a Gear VR headset, or just any type of mobile VR headset. It's not the greatest experience, at least from what I've experienced, but a lot of people have been vouching for it and been getting into it as a sort of temporary solution for people who can't afford a normal VR headset. And so a lot of people have been saying it's great, in VR. I honestly think it would, or Dear Esther as well, would have been amazing in VR.
Games like that, like walking simulators, they're now called.
Vanishing of Ethan Carter, I think it's called.
Yeah. Firewatch, you also have that. You have Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. So games like that would be
so many cool. What people call walking simulators out there. That would be so great in VR, and people would love them a lot more than they did just like sitting at their computers. And a lot of those games even got good reviews. even though they weren't necessarily meant for that type of experience, where they're more sort of geared for a VR experience. So yeah, it's definitely a very interesting thing right now, seeing Sony trying to develop this platform. We already see Oculus, making moves with a lot of well-named developers. Well-known
Yeah,
developers.
I also want Sony to do that. That's like also my. I mean, they Oculus has Insomniac. We of course know them from Ratchet & Clank Resistance, Sunset Overdrive. I mean, that's a well-known studio. Where is the well-known studio on PlayStation VR right now? Of course, we have Resident Evil, but yeah, for example, Farpoint, they're one of their bigger titles because they had like this huge presentation for that at E3. It's like made by a small studio in San Francisco. It's not, from Santa Monica or something, stuff like that. Yeah, that's also my point a little bit.
Yeah, certainly, and I mean, that's going to be something that we can look out for in the future.
What PlayStation VR games do you want to see? Let us know in the comments down below. Like the video if you did, subscribe for more PlayStation VR content, and I will speak to you next time. Goodbye.